Fantastic. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever in the world you are. So this was the sentence of the week, I would say, since we are all here all together, connected from all over the world. And we are here at the final closing ceremony of the SpaceGen United. So
people asking, what happens at the United Nations when you have a global pandemic such as COVID? Does everything just stop, or what happens? And so the Secure World Foundation has kindly sponsored a workshop that focuses around a UNCOPUOS simulation, which is actually quite realistic because nowadays COPUOS has been hosting its own meetings online. So our delegates from this workshop have joined together, done a COPUOS simulation to come up with a new agreement, a new moon agreement. So let's hear about their recommendations.
This year I had the honor of presiding over the drafting of a new international legal instrument for the moon.
A new space age is upon us. This time, commerce will be a driving force.
The United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Use of Outer Space workshop was designed so delegates can get an experience of international negotiations by acting as government representatives and negotiating an international treaty. Delegates listened to 2 keynote experts and were given draft treaties on the topic of in situ resource utilization of the moon. We did this in 12 teams of 2 people in each team. Our mission was to research, persuade, and collaborate with the hopes that we could resolve our differences and reach an international agreement.
Advancing the common aim of all members here present, be they spacefaring or soon to be spacefaring.
Freedom is in our core DNA as well.
The UN session offers engrossing and fruitful debates between delegations. Through the group-based interactions, the delegates realized the difficulties involved in negotiation, the need to address conflicts of interest and harmoniously resolve differences. Accordingly, the proceeding combined assembly meetings, which each delegation asserting its stance with oral statement, and small working groups negotiating on controversial core elements of the draft treaty.
South Africa is inspired by the accountability of Article 5 of the Russian draft.
The present framework should extend to the moon and the other celestial bodies.
Not only the celestial bodies, but also orbit around it.
Opening space as a global commons under the ambit of an international treaty.
We believe that the moon shall be considered and treated as a heritage of all mankind.
The delegations face diverse challenges, the most important one being inherent to the implication of major spacefaring nations and developing ones, thus necessarily defending opposite priorities. Indeed, to reach a consensus, compromises had to be made, otherwise no treaty would be formalized. Another difficulty lay in the defense for each delegate of the interest of a state different from its own, which eventually revealed delightful. Finally, the online constraint and the time zone differences have been handled efficiently via numerous conference calls and online shared documents.
We vehemently reject Article 5, subsection 2, which unjustifiably promotes the ownership of natural resources.
We equally reject Article 3 from the revised United States Treaty.
This would in effect conflict with the prohibition of national appropriation.
India is committed to finalizing an international framework for the development and utilization of the moon and its resources for the betterment of all mankind.
A qualified majority to approve resource extraction missions.
Administrative Council to review lunar resources extraction proposals.
However, we strongly suggest the inclusion of members from nations less active in space.
Space is an opportunity to set an example in international collaboration.
All the delegates had an outstanding experience of understanding the UNCOPUOS process as well as international negotiations. They were lucky enough to work collaboratively on the development of a final treaty, appreciating an interdisciplinary approach with delegates from contrasting backgrounds. We learned to acknowledge that although we are working on a treaty for resource utilization on the moon, what all of us are essentially looking at is a common, peaceful, and prosperous future for every country. The only way to achieve that is through international cooperation. This unique experience was undoubtedly an enriching one. All of the delegates are extremely grateful for this opportunity. To Mr. Claudio Mihaitayatu, Ms. Anna Avila, and Mr. Josh Wolney, thank you so much, and see you on the moon.
What a wonderful wrap-up and conclusion to such an interesting workshop. I have to say I'm very impressed with the quality of the outputs, and I think, Davide, we have a future set of diplomats in the making there. So once again, we would like to thank our subject matter experts who have kindly followed the progress of this workshop the whole time. We would like to also thank our moderators for all their input and support throughout this. I would just like to highlight that, the delegates we have delegates coming from 52 different countries, and in this particular workshop, they were able to, take on a role as a diplomat, if you like, from a different country, and it has really broadened the sense of perspective of what it might be like to be sitting on the other side of the aisle. So that's a wrap from me, but